In this video today, we're going to talk about CSS fonts. CSS fonts can be one of the most crucial things that impacts user experience, and the right fonts can create a strong identity for your site overall. To start off, using fonts in CSS is as simple as targeting the elements you want. In our case, we have 3 paragraph tags in our writer today with a few classes of text and text1 and text and text2 and so on. So in our style sheets over here, we'll target our first text1, which is our first paragraph, and then in here we need to use the font family property. The most common web font that can be used and looks really nice for most browsers is known as sans serif. If we save that, you can tell that the text on our screen looks a lot better than what it did initially. Sometimes though, you may want to use a different font. You can find a lot of fonts that could fit your needs right here on fonts.google.com. Once here, you can scroll down over here and find something that you really like. But in our case, we'll just go over here and type railway. We can pick the font we want right here, and then once it's loaded, we need to find the style that we want right here. This could range from things like how bold it is, or if it's in italics or not. If I scroll down a bit, I see one that I like, which is a regular 400. If I click on this, a menu should pop up. The first link tag that you see over here is in our HTML file. This link will sit in between our head tag. Then the second option over here, which is import, is for our CSS file, which normally sits at the top of our CSS files. Both of these methods work well, but it's not recommended to use the CSS method. There are some exceptions though, but most of the time you would like to stick to the HTML method instead. So all we need to do is just copy our link over here, then go into our head tag, and then paste it. I'll just select these last 2 lines over here because they're out of place, just so it looks a lot neater. So now if I save this, we can go to our HTML document again, and then we can target our text2. So it's going to be text2. Then we can use the font family, and this time we can use the font that we just imported. So in our case, it's going to be railway. Now if we save this, what you should notice is that our second text over here is very different from our first and our third one at the bottom here. If you did not use the same font that I use in googlefonts.com and your font has spaces separating the names, what you can do is you can go in here and then use quotation marks, single or double. Either way works. And if you save this, you should have the same results over here. Now, if you wanted, you can use more than one font in this property. The reason you would want to do this is if for whatever reason, the first font that you're using doesn't load up. So we need a fallback option. And in our case, we will just use a comma and then use sans serif. What this means is that if this doesn't load up properly, it will use sans serif instead as the default. So if I save this, you won't really notice any difference unless I take this away, and then it's going to fall back on sans serif. So then for our last example, I'll just target our text3 just so I can include a few additional font properties. You can further change a few things about our fonts over here, like the font style. And in this font style, it can be italic, it can be normal, or it can be oblique. I'll just use italic, and if you save that, our text becomes more italic. You can also change how bold you want this text to be. So in our case, that is known as font weight, and it ranges from 100 to 900, or you can use these words over here. I'm just going to use bold, and if I save that, you can tell the text has become much bolder. And of course, the one thing that you should be able to change is the font size. The default font size for most text is 16 pixels, but you can change it to something like 25 pixels, and if you save that, the text is much bigger than it was initially. And just for a few tips on working with fonts on your website, I'd say try to find fonts that complement each other and aren't too different from one another. Try to also have a maximum of 3 different fonts on your websites and nothing more, as this could make your website a lot more cluttered than it should be. But I think that's about it when it comes to fonts in CSS. I hope you guys found this video helpful and quite informative. And if you have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll answer as best as I can. With that, I'll see you guys in the next one.